I'm Ross Trachtenberg here with Figured Out Baseball. I'm the head coach at Rosemont College, which is a Division III program in the suburbs of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I want to talk to you about building an approach as a pitcher. And what this means to me is, does a pitcher have a good idea of what he's trying to do on the mound in a given situation? And before we get to that point, we really have to start with the pitcher really understanding who he is as a player before he starts to take on the other elements that are going on during a game situation, such as the batter, the score, base runners, the weather, the conditions of the mound, and all those other variables. To begin to build an approach, we have to know who we are as a pitcher. And some of this is being really critical and really honest with ourselves, and for coaches, doing the same thing with our players. Putting them in a situation where they understand what they're really good at and what they need to improve at. So a pitcher that has excellent velocity, but little command with that velocity, we need to understand that. And we need to pitch to that strength of, we're going to throw the ball hard, and we're going to probably throw a lot of pitches because our command isn't great. If we really command our secondary pitches, which would be something like a breaking ball or a changeup, really well, and we can change speeds really well, but our velocity isn't great, then that's our identity as a pitcher. Our identity is that we're going to keep batters off balance with our secondary pitches and be able to use our fastball in spots off of that. That might be considered pitching backwards or pitching with off-speed pitches first. Identify your strengths as a pitcher. Understand who you are. This can often happen in bullpen settings, in inter-squad settings. What can you do on a consistent basis? Which side of the plate can you command each pitch to? How do you feel in the stretch? How confident are you? There's areas of your game you absolutely always need to work on and you want to develop, but eventually there's not time to keep developing. Eventually you're on the mound in a game situation, and at that point you're bringing in what you can go to and what you feel confident in to help your team be successful, to help produce outs, to help get your team into the dugout to go hit. So building on that concept of what essentially are your strengths, what's your identity of a pitcher, as a pitcher, you want to then take that into a game situation. Now, going into a game situation, you do want to take into factors as best as you can that would affect what's going on in the game. So if you're a starting pitcher or relief pitcher, what's the timing? How much time do you need to warm up? Again, based on your identity as a pitcher, your approach. What's the weather conditions that day? How does that affect you as a pitcher? The mound. You shouldn't be surprised when you get onto a dirt mound and it's not in perfect condition. We need to, again, have an approach. Despite the mound not being perfect, I'm still going to work on my strength of throwing the ball to the outside corner or being able to command my breaking ball in the strike zone on a consistent basis. So again, despite those factors, you want to make sure that you can still compete. And building that approach, again, does definitely begin before you take the mound. So it's knowing your opposition that day, knowing the game situation you might be going into, whether it's a start or later in the game. What is your job? Now, as a pitcher, it's great if you can see these things and know these things on your own and know your role. Sometimes it's not so clear. In those cases, it's great to ask your coach to make sure, hey coach, when may I be going into the game today? I know you plan to use me, but I want to be prepared. What are the stakes of this game? Is this an early season matchup, or is this the potential to be into the playoffs? You should always be hypersensitive to doing your best. However, what are the stakes of the game and what should your approach be? Do you need to leave everything on the field that day? Is that runner at first base the winning run that's going to put that team that you're playing against in a position to beat you? Then we need to change our approach to control the running game rather than, if we're up by 5 runs in the late innings, that runner at first base doesn't matter. Coaches share this information. Do not assume that your pitcher goes onto the mound or goes into a start knowing everything. So as much information is appropriate to share with your players to help them stay focused, this can really help them know what they should be doing, know what their game plan should be. A great place to be eventually is that the pitcher and the coach are having two-way conversations about the game plan and sharing ideas. The catcher can get involved in this as well because the catcher sees things from his perspective as well. When all pieces are really communicating, that's a great place to be. But sharing information and helping to build a game plan together, that's really an important piece to having an approach. I hope this is helpful for you as a pitcher and for coaches working with pitchers in terms of building an approach to be effective and be in a position to get outs while on the mound. Again, I'm Ross Trachtenberg with Figure It Out Baseball.